Well, first time I ever heard of Cat, I wound up kind of stranded in Fayetteville for a while and just kind of wound up enjoying it. And they said, oh, you got to watch the Open Channel, check out the Open Channel, because I think Fayetteville Open Channel had kind of become non-existent at that time, and Cat was in existence, but a lot of people were still calling it the Open Channel. They meant the same thing by it, but I was watching the Cat, and they said, oh yeah, we have a lot of interesting things, and so we watched a little bit of Cat, and it seems like there were endless dance recitals, just big faraway shots of these dance recitals, and they'd have this Buddhist lady on late at night talking, and she seemed to endlessly be going on about cleaning the toilet and how the toilet should be clean, and I'm not sure what that had to do to Buddhism. It had to do with Buddhism, but it was pretty fascinating. But in the time that I spent down there, several friends were on this show called Pondering the Muse, which was around at the time. I had several poet friends who appeared on this show and talked about their poetry, and they had jazz bands and rock bands and all these different kinds of outfits, talking and playing and whatnot. It was really interesting. It's kind of cool that they have this channel. Like one of the first things we did was we took the camera into a chicken house, into an industrial chicken house, and took a look at everything that went on there, and had the manager of the chicken house actually going about euthanizing wounded chickens, and that upset a few people, especially since he seemed to have way too much fun doing it. We used a lot of cuss words, we swore a lot, we got pretty open with the language. If you look at some of the earlier tapes of the show, you'll see several of us sitting around, and a few of the other cast members kind of have mouths like running faucets, and there was nothing that really you could do about it. It's just, this is going to slip out. And I remember just seeing me look real uneasy and say, oh yeah, this is going to end up on the cutting room floor. And eventually we found out that you can't, that you can pretty much say anything you want. If it's on after midnight, they really don't make much of a fuss about it. We're just a bunch of people that were cut out of a certain cloth. I did this underground magazine for years, and friends have pretty much said, yeah, basically you took what you did with the magazine and just applied it to video. It was basically about 6 months of running around just randomly filming stuff before anything congealed into any kind of a show. But we were just basically sitting around late at night, because we work nights, so we were usually up all night. And we'd sit around and we'd watch a lot of movies. We'd watch these Italian zombie flicks. We'd watch old silent movies, avant-garde movies, anything of that sort, anything that kind of fell into our filter. Underground movies by John Waters. He was a big hero of ours. And just kind of created this kind of weirdo ethic. And we went around, friends would be playing in a band somewhere in Oklahoma. We'd go shoot that. We'd go up to this chicken house and shoot what was going on in there. We'd go up and down 540 shooting roadkill, pictures of roadkill. We'd get a friend over, sit around, get loaded, and play with Play-Doh, just anything that hit our fancy at the time. And after about 6 months, this kind of weird goulash just kind of congealed into a show. I think one of our last big controversies was in '03, and we went on, did a live show, and we had gotten into doing these 2-hour live shows, and we'd always try to kick the show off more or less with this really kind of galvanizing piece of performance art. And what we did for this particular show was we wanted to illustrate censorship and culture war and political correctness and whatnot. And we said that we basically felt like we were being fist fucked by both the left and the right, and illustrated that point by one of my co-stars bending me over and pretending to fist me while the Star Spangled Banner played in the background, and it was pretty depraved stuff. It was just funny. It was just funny and insolent, and probably hit a little too close to home for some folks. But there was also a lot of fooling around. We did a lot of call-in interaction with the audience and whatnot. And the audience just called in droves. People were just calling hand over fist. And we'd have things on stage. We'd have dildos on stage, and someone would ask the girls about the dildos and have them play with the dildos, and then they'd pawn the dildos off on some of the guys, and the guys would start playing with the dildos. I don't know if that's what deeply affected a lot of people or what, but... And we got some criticism in the newspaper for these tired displays with sexual devices or whatever, and nobody found those displays more tiresome than I did, but for whatever reason, people like that stuff, and people called in and asked for it. So I don't know, there seemed to be kind of a dichotomy between the people who found that offensive and the people who saw that as, I don't know, fun entertainment.